Hey, Strangelings. We're going to be talking about a few things regarding the wildfires. Fair warning, this is going to be a bit of a rant. So, we're going to be covering a mix of my personal experiences, my thoughts on performative activism, the conspiracies, and even how psychics claim to have predicted this disaster and how they're exploiting fears during this time. Um, there's a lot to unpack. So, it all connects though. It all connects under a theme of the wildfires and the way that people respond to tragedy. Also, I'm someone who firmly believes in climate change and values psychic readings rooted in empowerment rather than fear, and also respects humanity in all situations. So if you don't firmly believe this or you feel like you might disagree, then I feel like you should move along and that's okay, right? Like, great that you have your opinion, but just move along, okay? This is not going to be the episode for you. So, you're probably wondering, okay, Stephanie, why do you care? Or what's the connection here? I'm going to give you some context. I'm going to explain a little bit about myself. So, I was born in Los Angeles and I lived in different parts of LA County. As some of you know, LA County is huge. It's a big city, and a big county. So my parents are divorced. My dad and my dad's family has stayed in LA while my mother moved and left the state. Now, granted, there was a period in time that my dad did leave the state, but it was very brief. Overall, my dad's family has always stayed in LA. And what that meant for me, or having parents that are divorced and living in different states, is that I would spend, my time here and somewhere else. There was a period where I lived here and my mom lived out of state. There was a period where I would spend summers here and holidays here. There was a period where I went to summer school. You get the point. And so what that means is that LA, Los Angeles, has always been a home, at most a second home, right? I've gone through a mix of emotions with Los Angeles. It's a hate-love relationship because I was born here, because my family has always been here, and because I've left the state. And because I've left the state and I've left the city, might I add, I've met people in different states that just hate LA. They stereotype it, they judge it based on just celebrities and entertainment and what the entertainment industry is and has become. And because of that, I will experience more negativity and hatred towards the city for people that have never been to LA, for people that assume what LA is, for people that might have had a brief bad experience, for people that have moved to Los Angeles for superficial reasons. So there's a list of reasons why people hate Los Angeles. The first time I've encountered how people dehumanize tragedies that happen in LA was back in 2017. It was a very different time in the internet space. And I remember that it was a wildfire that had happened in Los Angeles. And I was living in Colorado and watching the internet's reaction. There was an abundance of memes that people were posting that were so inhumane. People were making video game characters, and then copying, pasting, or clipping that character in front of, like, using the fires as a backdrop, right? Using memes from The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings. I can't even think of any other games right now. It was just a lot. And it was such a weird experience to see how people were just using this and making memes on the internet, mostly Facebook at the time, because that's what I was using. But I believe I saw parts of it on, like, Instagram. It was wild. And when people would post on Facebook, it was also things from Twitter at the time. So it just felt like it was everywhere. And I felt so alone, like, whoa, am I the only person that feels like this is inhumane, that this is awful to be making fun of a tragedy? But I finally had enough. And so I posted something on Facebook and I was so nervous, so anxious, and I felt like no one was going to have my back. But this is what I wrote, and I'll post the picture here. But basically what I said. Call me prude or whatever, but I don't find the memes about California fires funny. It's a dick move to make jokes out of a tragedy. Pretty sure you wouldn't want someone using a photo of your home burning down or losing a pet for entertainment, completely forgetting the real pain people are going through or something like that. And it's just sad. I think I got like two comments on it. But to keep in mind, during that time, the people that were posting jokes were people that I knew that I worked with, that I even called friends. And I saw these people in a very different light. And it feels weird to have family in Los Angeles, but you live in a different state where some of these people maybe have never visited Los Angeles or left the state or their hometown, and they're harshly judging a city. What's sad about that is that it's still happening today during this horrific event. So, what is it about disasters that brings out this side of people? And I would even call it shows the performative activism because TikTok in particular, right, has become a platform for sharing causes, advocating for change, social change, and bringing awareness to causes. So, TikTok in particular, I believe, has been so monumental for advocating for change, for social change, for raising awareness for things that are not being covered on the internet, for just, you get my point, for just change. And there is a fine line between raising awareness and then people just basically using tragedies and events to be performative. Like they'll care about one cause but not the other. I trust me, I will see people in my comment feed be very hypocritical because I'll click on that account and I'll be like, wow, so you care about this cause while making fun of another cause that's about marginalized communities. But God forbid this marginalized community, but you want to advocate for this. There's such a hypocrisy with that. And I think that's where it's like you can't pick and choose what you want to advocate for, especially if they're rooted under the same cause, if you get my drift. So going back to the fires and the tragedy, I've been hearing people like eat the rich or who cares? It's Hollywood. It burns down. It needs to burn down without actually understanding what they're actually saying. We know that the entertainment industry is here, the tech industry. I mean, I know that's more Silicon Valley, but you get my drift. A lot of rich people do live in LA, but that's like maybe like 1% of it, right? The rest of the city is so vastly huge. It has your people who, came to this country to have a second chance at life. My family, I migrated to California and, became citizens and they really got a second chance at life and to change it and make a foundation. This is a city where I will see creatives, I will see people have dreams and they are the underdog and they succeed and make it happen. I see people here that are part of communities. I see people here that literally uplift other small businesses. So when people summarize a city as just the elite ruling class, celebrities, the rich. So, what does that say about their morality when they mock people who lost everything and reduce their pain to a punchline? I mean, I think that's performative. I think that's not understanding causes. I think that's just being a sheep, essentially, because you see people jump on something and you treat it as a trend rather than caring about those causes. And I made a video sharing the resources of the wildfire, and an individual decided to laugh or type three laughing emojis. So I did this video. Imagine me making a video about resources and how to help people who have been impacted by the fires, and you want to add in not one, but three laughing emojis. So Arlene, I'm just curious, what's so funny? Is it people who are fleeing the fires and wondering if they're ever going to see their pets again? People trapped in a fire? People losing everything and wondering if insurance is going to help them? Children being impacted by these fires, losing their schools and everything, and people dying. Are you okay, Arlene? Like, do you need help? I think you do, if that's the case. Well, people on Instagram were so nice and comforting, and they're like, what is up with this person making these comments? TikTok, not so much, because it happened originally on TikTok. So I replied. So I asked them, I said, what is so funny? Giving the benefit of doubt of like, was it an accident? I gave them like literally 24 hours essentially to like reply. Did they reply? Absolutely not. Then I reply to that comment and I make a video saying, what is so funny? someone starts trolling. Like all the things that I'm like, what the heck? Are you trying to gaslight the situation? Like, is it this person in disguise? Is it their loved one in disguise? What is happening here? So they start trolling the comment section. So I ended up blocking them, right? I then get another comment where they're like, well, what if this was just an accident? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, girl, girl. So then I start getting a plethora of comments of like, what if it was just an accident? I was like, this seems so freaking planted. I cannot. So the next question after this is how do we move forward in the face of tragedy? There's been so many people that I know that have been sharing positive messages, posting positive things and encouraging words. So I'm grateful for that. I think having action and the intention of empathy is so important and recognizing that disasters like this are real people and not just internet debates. And I think that if we can focus on that, I think it'll be a real change for both the online space and offline. I mean, I know that's easier said than done, but that's just my thoughts on that overall. Let's get into the conspiracy part of what I saw today. So I saw this video, 18 million views. This person starts off saying, call me conspiracy theorist with the fire thing in the background. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Here we go. I'm going to summarize the video. They basically denied the possibility of 8 fires being started due to climate change. They just couldn't possibly believe that. And then they pointed out, coincidentally, insurances have been cutting off coverage. And so the government insurance must be plotting to burn down the city of Los Angeles so that insurance doesn't have to cover expenses. And they're emptying our reservoirs and cutting funding for firefighters. This is all a big conspiracy. First of all, let's start with the obvious. Climate change is real. Fires that start in an area, right, is not a conspiracy. It's a predictable outcome of hotter, drier conditions caused by global warming, climate change. Thus, water reservoirs are being dried out. I mean, scientists have been saying this for decades and it's backed by research. So when someone says that 8 fires could not start within 48 hours, uh, due to climate change, well, they're just ignoring the science and also spreading misinformation, and it distracts us all from the real issue. And as for the insurance angle, yes, insurance companies are shady as hell. I've been saying that. I feel like insurance is scammy, uh, whether it's car insurance, medical insurance, house insurance, insurance is a scam, right? Like, I hate the idea of insurance. I wish that we had access to support in the face of tragedy or in need. If anything, all of this is to say that we need better leadership, stronger environmental policies, and more investment in disaster preparedness. So this creator is like a holistic creator. They should be advocating for climate awareness, sustainability, and systematic change, not spinning baseless theories that absolve us from responsibility. So I get why people lean into conspiracy theories. I mean, I get it. Some of them do hold weight and substance, like the whole thing with like Jeffrey Epstein for a while. People thought it was conspiracy theory, and then guess what? There was truth to it. So I get that. There are things that make sense. But this denying climate change and taking away from the attention is just incredibly frustrating. There needs to be a fine line, and there needs to be different names for different type of conspiracy theorists. Shout out to Shannon, fluently forward. Yeah. If you know, you know. There is a natural tendency to question things, especially during chaos. But honestly, we need to just pause and reflect a little bit before diving off into the deep end. And here's my hot take for the whole conspiracy thing. It's easier to create a narrative about uncovering something that is a hidden truth and the responsibility onto others than to look inward and ask, am I adding to the problem by spreading misinformation, or am I taking responsibility for what I can do to help? Accountability doesn't just mean acknowledging the issues, it means actively working on change and how we like the change in how we live, not just for the planet, but for our collective survival. So now shifting away from conspiracy theorists, let's get into another layer of distrust. How psychics can exploit these feelings during catastrophic events. Yes, there's the bad apples. As someone who practices psychic medium work, I've seen this happen far too many times. There are readers out there who use fear to keep people dependent, claiming that they predicted disasters or tragedies. So, this approach not only feeds into paranoia, but it also shifts the focus away from empowering people to trust their intuition. So, for example, I've seen people sharing clips of Joe Rogan talking about like the fire and
He goes, it's just going to be the right wind, and fire is going to start in the right place, and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And it's not
possibly predicting this catastrophic fire. And I've seen also psychics claim that they have predicted this. I do think that some psychics might have premonitions, could probably have a feeling this happened or have a vision. I do think that there is a fine line, especially on the negative side, that for people who are trying to scam people, as an example, or boost their ego. I feel like this could be a manipulative tactic to exploit uncertainty and fear to boost credibility. But here's the thing, though, you guys, California is no stranger to natural disasters. Fires happen all the time. So claiming to have predicted one isn't groundbreaking. It kind of comes off opportunistic. But basically, someone said this was a conversation of Joe Rogan with a firefighter. Again, this is not a supernatural phenomenon. There is science to this. So I practice spiritualism. We've been taught to avoid the 4Ds, which is death, disaster, divorce, and disease. And the reason for that, these topics are emotionally charged and can inadvertently steer readings into a fear-based territory. So the purpose of psychic readings is to empower people and uplift them, not leave them feeling more anxious or disempowered. Fear-based readings create a cycle of negativity, keeping people in survival mode where they feel often powerless and dependent on external guidance. So they'll keep going to that person for more readings and holding on to their every word and not allowing them to have any choice and kind of, keeping them in that bubble. So this is why I'm very skeptical of psychics who claim to foresee catastrophic events. These readings often come from a place of low vibrational energy, explaining fear to gain followers, profits, or a sense of power. A genuine psychic with integrity will avoid sensationalism and instead focus on helping others find light and love and actionable ways to move forward. And I get it. It's natural for people to seek reassurance during uncertain times. But the thing is, fear can drive hypervigilance, creating a need to anticipate every danger or know every answer. This is where the line gets kind of blurry. Some psychics take advantage of this need, stringing clients along with fear driven readings. Again, I've had this. And trust me, I've seen that. I had someone say that my mom was going to get in a car accident and die. And I'm just like, what the heck? And that was to kind of bring them back for another consultation. I said, nope, we're not doing this. And unfortunately, for people who fall victim to this, it perpetuates a dependency and it shifts the focus away from trusting oneself and their journey and what's meant for them in this life. And true intuition is about empowering people to align with their inner voice and make decisions that resonate with their higher self. For instance, I've had intuitive moments where I sensed danger. I remember this was, I think, for like the zombie crawl in Denver. And I remember we were having fun and everything. And I just had this feeling not to go during like down the street. I just had a feeling. And before I knew it, apparently like someone pulled out a gun or something like that. I mean, I had left, I had gone the opposite direction. And so all of this to say that like, yes, we can use intuition for survival and thus, maybe having a vision or premonition about catastrophic events or something bad happening. But remember, these moments can come from trusting ourselves. Yeah, not obsessively seek validation or, just living life in a bubble. Because again, we do have free will. And I'm sure people are asking, well, what about if you are a reader and you're picking up something catastrophic? What if something bad is going to happen? Can you see that? Okay, I can see possible outcomes. I've given readings where I could see something happening with a vehicle. And so what I say is, hey, I see that you're going to go out of town. My guide is communicating with your guide. They're talking about checking your vehicle, checking the tires, checking all this before you take that long drive. Okay. Recently, I also gave a reading of like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is the vision I'm seeing. And I'm also hearing my spirit guide talk about how you have these large files that are very important on your hard drive, and you need to make sure that you back up, Interestingly enough, he was like, wait a minute. That's so specific because this morning I literally was paranoid how I haven't backed up my computer. I haven't done anything. And I think this is a sign to do that. I'm like, yes, you need to do that because rather than saying, oh my God, you're going to lose everything, it was talking about backing things up. So all of this to kind of say, Well, yes, readings can be uplifting and should be uplifting. I get that life isn't supposed to be all rainbows and lollipops. This is my belief system. I believe we sign up for life lessons. We sign up for challenges to evolve and grow spiritually, but also in this lifetime. And our challenges give us character, they shape who we are. A genuine psychic will never feed into fear or paranoia. Instead, they'll guide you through trusting your inner voice, reconnecting with your intuition, and finding stability within yourself and knowing that you are on a life path. And yes, while there might be options to grow, there might be options to also heal. So, true intuition isn't about predicting every disaster or controlling every outcome. It's about trusting that you have the tools and resilience to navigate whatever comes your way. So, whatever is meant for you will come, and you have the power to meet strength with clarity. And if you made it this far, thank you for listening to me rant. Even if you may not agree with me 100%, I hope that you can see where I'm coming from. I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate people who have checked in on me during this time. I appreciate you guys so much. This has been such an amazing journey and community, and I'm really grateful. There's just so much going on right now. There's the TikTok ban happening, which that's also another can of worms. All we can do is wait to see what happens. Now here's another thing to note. I will be coming out with another episode with another director for a movie. I'm not going to say what it is yet. It'll be a surprise. But, you know, I encourage you to do something positive today. Make sure that you share, make sure that you review, give me a 5 star, and I will see you guys next time. Remember, stay strange.